How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. Unpopular opinions. You hate them, I debate them, so let's fight! Hey yo, smash that motherfucking like button for this gross ass ponytail. What up? We're back with another episode of Let's Fight, the show where I take your guys' unpopular opinions, tough questions, and hot takes about anime, manga, otaku stuff, or anything, whatever the fuck it is. I take them from Twitter with you guys using the hashtag Let's Fight, and I fight with all y'all motherfuckers because 1v1.8 million is a fair fight, let's just say that. But my power levels, my boys, is over 1.8 million. Like, over 9,000, get the fuck out of here, Vegeta. You guys love and hate this show at the same time. I love and hate this show at the same time. Everybody wins/losing. So without further ado, let's fucking fight! Legal anime streaming is getting worse as companies scavenge licenses, so you'd have to buy so many different streaming services just to see very specific shows, not helping the growth of piracy at all. Look, I totally get it that, you know, this is a huge problem, especially for people in the West who don't have that much access to all sorts of anime all in one site. You obviously have your well-known legal streaming sites as well as your famous illegal streaming sites, and there are even some other bigger, more traditional media franchises like Netflix and Hulu who are kind of jumping onto the train of anime as well. And I get it, we have to pay for subscriptions if we want to get full access to them. $6 a month, $10 a month, and there are so many of them. I'm spending so much money per month if I want to support every single one of these legal places. But hang on a second here, because I actually think that this system of actually paying for a monthly subscription to each of these different streaming services that are legal, not illegal, is actually cheaper than otherwise. Now you're probably thinking, how is paying $40 to $50 a month in subscriptions, all these different streaming services, cheaper? Well, it's cheaper because let's just say that who the fuck wants to pay $300 for a Blu-ray that covers, what, 3 to 6 episodes of an anime? No one, right? And that's why this streaming shit is working so far. Because if you think about it in that aspect, paying $40 to $50 a month and it actually being, you know, contributing in some instances back to the industry is a hell of a lot more cheaper than buying the Blu-ray. Now, obviously, if you buy the Blu-ray, you definitely know where your money is going because it's going directly to the industry. But I understand that with some of these legal streaming services, sometimes what they say about giving back to the industry isn't all 100% true and we're all just getting jebaited. And in all honesty, regardless of whether you're that person who spends $300 buying a Blu-ray or spends $6 a month on Netflix or just goes on to sites like Kiss Anime and gets all their shit for free, it's really up to you. Yes, there is this whole morality thing of like, no, you should try and support the industries to keep this anime industry alive, but I mean, if you have no access to the first two options, then what the fuck else are you gonna do? Let's not all pretend that all of us have pirated anime at least once in our lifetimes, and that's not so much our fault, it's more the industry who hasn't given us good accessibility options other than illegal options. That's why, for instance, when I collect manga, for example, I collect, as you can see, physical books that you can buy in bookstores, because I know where my money is going. And if I can't find it in bookstores, then I can always go to sites like Bookwalker, because I know that those go straight back to industry as well. By the way, if you would like to contribute to that, you can use my coupon code TheAnimeMan, get $5 off your purchase, and the shit actually does support the industry, unlike what these other legal sites tell you about. I, for one, when watching anime, do have, like, subscriptions. Like, I have subscriptions to Netflix and stuff like that, which I use to watch Netflix exclusive stuff, which is usually some of the best shit to come out in the past year or so. But I'm not gonna lie, I every now and then jump onto Kiss Anime if I can't fucking find the show I'm watching, because that's the industry's problem, not my problem. Look, I have enough to spend all this money on manga, but I really do not want to spend $300 of my pocket money to buy, what, 6 episodes of anime? The Ultra HD quality is just not worth it, my dude. So I get that, yes, this is kind of a problem, but in my eyes, it's more of like a first world problem for otakus who just don't have the money to spend. Because if you do have the money to spend, even if it is going onto all these subscription websites and paying upwards of $40 to $50 a month, you should do so if you really care for the industry. If you don't give a fuck about the industry and you just want to watch anime, fucking go on to Kiss Anime, bro. No one's stopping you. Sometimes the people who yell weeb at anyone who has ever watched an anime or eaten ramen are more annoying than the fans who add a desu to every sentence. No. No, they are not. They are not. Are you fucking kidding me? If there was two people in a playground, one was putting desu at the end of all of their sentences, and they weren't even speaking Japanese, they were just putting desu at the end of English sentences, and there was another guy who was yelling at him, calling him a weeb, I would join the guy calling him a weeb. I do, however, agree with the whole aspect of, like, just because you've watched one episode of anime or just because you've eaten ramen, you're considered a weeb. No, that's fucking ridiculous. A weeb is someone who tries to think that they're part of the Japanese culture and in doing so disrespecting the culture from the lack of knowledge of the culture. Your 90-year-old grandma from fucking Ireland can go and eat ramen. Doesn't make her a fucking weeb. It just makes her a grandma who eats ramen. But someone who thinks they're fucking Japanese and puts desu at the end of all of their sentences thinking that they're part of the culture, yeah, that's a weeb. And I am not ashamed to say and yell at that person for them being a weeb. We need more ero manga. Kinda. We need more good ero manga. That's the problem with a lot of ero manga, and that's like the weird stipulation that people get from ero manga, especially for people who haven't read a lot of ero manga. They just think it's all just fucking prepubescent boys only trash that, you know, 13-year-olds can jack off to shit. When in reality, there are a lot of manga that do use ero aspects heavily in their story or characters that sometimes turn out to be quite interesting or unique. Because the genre of ero is very broad. The ero genre can be combined with all sorts of different things. Because you can have shows like High School DD that have full-fledged action-packed stories and fantasy elements that incorporate ero into its comedy, or you can have shows like Tokyo Riding Hood that is a full-on ero guro. It is a horror psychological that combines a lot of ero to build up the atmosphere and dark tones of the show. I will admit though, there are a lot of really shitty ero, and especially in the light novel world, there are a lot of shitty light novel series that just use ero as their pulling power to pull you into the most mediocre story with the most mediocre characters. Those can go away. But sometimes you can find some shows that just happen to have a little bit of ero in it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not every new anime adaptation from an old series is bad. I don't know where you got this idea from, because if anything, it's more of the opposite recently. I mean, let's think of some older manga series that have been newly adapted into an anime. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, fucking amazing. Banana Fish, fucking amazing. Parasite, pretty freaking good. Dororo, pretty freaking good. What series are you talking about, bro? Are you talking about Berserk 2015, 2016? Yeah, then I can agree with you on that, but no one talks about that show. Popular brands and celebrities making anime collaborations and talking about anime is a great thing for the industry. I actually very much agree with this, and I think it's because of that fact that Anitubing just in general, this idea of people on YouTube talking about anime or people on social media talking about anime has gotten so much bigger and more mainstream. What pisses me off the most is when people come up to me and be like, Joey, if it wasn't for all of these celebrities who are suddenly coming out about liking anime, then anime wouldn't be mainstream. But in my eyes, anime has been mainstream for years. And I don't mean mainstream in the terms of like, you know, you'll see it in Hollywood movies or anything like that. I mean mainstream as in like, there are more and more people who know about anime and understand about anime than before. And the amount is staggering. Especially in the last 5 years, I would call it like an anime renaissance has happened. It's just 5 to 10 years ago, there was almost nobody talking about anime in depth. Nobody publicly talking about anime. Anime has always just been like a kind of a hidden, shut-in thing because the term associated with liking anime, otaku, was considered a very negative term, especially here in Japan. However, in the past 5 years or so, that has completely changed. There's been a rebirthing, a renaissance of liking anime. It's become normal now. It's become basically what comic books and games went through all those years ago. I mean, just look at the fact that you could go to almost any random YouTuber you want, and they've most likely heard of things like Naruto and Dragon Ball. I've had so many times where I've been watching a just random YouTuber and them mentioning anime and liking anime on their social media has surprised me, because they don't seem like the person who likes anime or is even associated with anime whatsoever. If anything, that makes me happy. That makes me happy to know that there are more and more people who are accepting of this weird shit we call anime, because it is fucking weird, let's admit. So I honestly don't have a problem with anime going mainstream, because it's already been going mainstream for the past 5 years or so. And you know what's the awesome thing about all these celebrities pretending that they know about anime? Us actual people who have been sticking around in the anime community for a long time can fucking put them in their place. Now we're the cool kids. So have some pride, have some otaku pride, my boys. It's a good day to be an otaku. People need to understand the difference between bad anime and anime that doesn't appeal to them. Just because you dislike the premise and intention of an anime doesn't make it a bad anime, and you don't have to force yourself to watch it. I totally get what this person is trying to say. I think they're like, you know, suddenly trying to hint at the fact that like, Joey, Sword Art Online isn't a bad anime, it's just an anime that doesn't appeal to you. The thing is though, I already understand the difference between an anime that doesn't appeal to me and a bad anime. Hence the reason why I don't go around shitting on things like a lot of yaoi or a lot of yuri, because I'm just not into that shit. However, I can go and say that Sword Art Online is a bad anime, for example, because it is a premise that does appeal to me. I do play games. I like this whole world that they have set up, just the execution of it was not that great. It was pretty bad in my honesty. But I do understand that there are a lot of people out there who are just very quick to judge about like, oh yeah, I don't like this show, therefore it sucks. Like, the thing is, I've never said anything like that in my videos. There are people on the internet who do like saying that just to probably just troll you and get a laugh out of you. But, you know, there are some people like me, I understand that yes, there are anime that just I'm not into, and there are just some terrible anime. I feel that as long as you can justify the reason as to why you think it is just bad in general, versus you personally thinking that there's something that you don't like about it, then I think you're allowed to say if something is bad or something doesn't appeal to you. But if you just say like, oh, I didn't really dig the show because it kinda sucked, then yeah, it's not usually a bad show, it's just you didn't like it. Characters are the most important thing, even more than the story in an anime. I kind of understand what you're coming from, but it's also a very, way too simplified way of cleaning up everything. As Hayao Miyazaki once famously said, the characters are the story, as in, if you have a very, very convincing and engaging cast of characters, then you can throw them into any story and they will still be engaging. However, that's if you're talking about a character-driven story, and not all anime series are character-driven. A lot of them are story-driven. There are a lot of shows out there, anime or non-anime, that focus more on the world that the story is set in rather than the individual characters that the story is set in. Usually, stories that have a giant amount of lore behind it, usually have a giant built-up universe surrounding it. Those are more story-driven. But that's not to say that characters are also important as well. I mean, you can't have a good story without good characters. But then again, you can't have good characters without good story either. So in saying that characters are the most important thing more than a story is technically false. I would say characters and story are equally as important as one another, because without one, you can't really have another. Like, the only instance I can say where characters are more important than the story is if you're reading something like A Slice of Life, where there is really no story behind it. Obviously, the characters are going to be the only central focus. But any kind of like action, shonen, romance, drama, anything like that, usually it's the story. There's a story behind it and the characters are interacting with said story. So I kind of agree and disagree with this point. It's kind of hard to decide and really dictate like the quantifiable worth. There really isn't any quantifiable worth between characters and story. They're both pretty important. J-pop is a lot better and creative / inspirational than K-pop, and should be socially accepted by other countries rather than looked down upon. The only people that I know who like J-pop / anime songs are those that are into anime. We weebs get the weird look by normies always. Okay, I'm gonna disagree with you on that point, because as much as I'm not really into K-pop personally, I would say just from a musicality and artistry standpoint, I think both J-pop and K-pop are equal in terms of creativity and influence. Look, I'm much more of a J-rock, J-metal kind of guy. I'm much more into the rocky stuff rather than the poppy stuff. And in all honesty, like, yeah, I can understand J-pop, but I can't understand K-pop. But that doesn't mean that I enjoy it any less than I do the other. What I'm trying to say is that they make K-pop out to be this really like factory made kind of thing where artists are just kind of pumped out to make these like cardboard cutout songs, and you know, everybody looks the same. It's like there's a dance group, yeah, there's 20 girls dancing and they all look the same because they're all cute. But then if you think about it, J-pop is kind of the same thing as well. I mean, in all honesty, what really is the difference between AKB48 and BTS, other than the gender and the amount of members there are? They both write really catchy tunes, they both have a massive audience in their respective countries. They both are influential and creative according to both of their fan bases. And even people who aren't so into pop music can dig either of their tunes. They can still make some catchy tunes. Maybe it's concerning the whole fact that the whole K-pop movement has made its way over to Japan as well, and so just from a zeitgeist standpoint, the K-pop boom has kind of overshadowed the J-pop boom, but the J-pop boom is still there, and if anything, there is a lot of J-pop that also exists with a Korean fan base as well. Like, Koreans don't just listen to K-pop, they listen to other shit too, like J-pop for instance. So I'm not gonna say that J-pop is more creative or inspirational than K-pop, and I'm not gonna say K-pop is more inspirational or creative than J-pop, okay? Because, to be honest, I don't personally really care about either of these two. I think above both of these, J-rock and J-metal is way more creative and influential. But alas, since they are not part of the pop culture, they're not part of the pop movement in terms of music, they do get overshadowed by things like K-pop and J-pop. But hey, that's completely fine. You guys go listen to your BTS and AKB48. I'll go listen to my Asian Kung Fu generations, okay? And in terms of people in the West only knowing J-pop because of anime songs and because they're weebs, that's on them, really. Like, the only reason why K-pop is so much better known internationally than J-pop is has to do with the fact that the K-pop industry understands the pulling power of an international audience, and so they made an effort to push K-pop out into the West. Whereas J-pop is in Japan, and Japan is a country that is so fixated on their own country and their own culture that a lot of them are so traditional that they don't make an effort to go out into the West. If anything, music from Japan that has made it out into the West usually follows suit of things like J-rock and J-metal, as a lot of the underground scene makes its way by word of mouth out into the West. In fact, there are a lot of bands like The Pillows, Melt Banana, Asian Kung Fu Generation that have built a dedicated Western audience because of word of mouth. And I'm sure J-pop is the same. I'm sure there are a lot of hidden idol fans out in the West, but the pulling power and the commercialization of K-pop has just made K-pop so much better known in the West compared to J-pop. Just because it's better advertised, it doesn't make it a better product. And so that's why I think K-pop and J-pop, in terms of creativity and influence, is essentially the same. It's just K-pop had a few more bucks to push ads onto YouTube. The Pokemon Sun and Moon anime is good and shouldn't be dismissed just because it's different from the other previous shows. I absolutely fucking agree. After I watched Detective Pikachu, I was wondering what the recent Pokemon anime looked like. I'm pretty sure it's the Sun and Moon anime, but I haven't seen Pokemon since like Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, like 3rd gen Pokemon anime. So I kind of wonder, how's the Pokemon anime going? Because I've heard that it is fucking incredible. So I jumped onto Netflix because they had it, and I watched the first couple of episodes, and my boys, I hate using the Sakuga word, but goddamn, the Sakuga in that show was holy shit. Like, when you look back to like the first couple of seasons of the Pokemon anime, it is so slow paced. There's barely any movement. It's a lot of still frames. It's a lot of just singular motion of attacks. Whereas Sun and Moon anime is so much fluidity and choreography. It actually looks like the Pokemon are fighting in these Pokemon fights. So honestly, if you are a Pokemon fan, just give Sun and Moon a go. Yeah, Ash and Pikachu look fucking weird right now, like especially if you're more used to the 1st gen style of Ash and Pikachu, but trust me, the amazing animation and just the vibrant colors and sounds will make up for it completely. Currently airing anime are easier to watch than completely aired series. What does that mean? That makes no sense. Currently airing anime are easier to watch than completely aired anime. So you're saying that waiting a week for 20 to 25 minutes worth of content for 12 to 24 weeks straight is easier to watch than dedicating a day or two to just marathon an entire series. What are you on? Nendoroids are just glorified Funko Pops. Alright, somebody deserves a slap on the wrist, at most. I would understand if they were reversed. I would understand if you said Funko Pops are just glorified Nendoroids. Then yes, absolutely. But Nendoroids are just glorified Funko Pops. No. The only reason you would ever give... I wouldn't even give my enemies Funko Pops. Like, that's too cruel even for an enemy. Funko Pops look fucking disgusting, my dude. Like, they look gross. They all look the same, first of all. And I don't want to hear anyone saying shit like, oh, Nendoroids all look the same as well, because they're actually customizable, unlike Funko Pops are. Like, I make an effort to take the N out of Funko Pop and just call it a Fucko Pop, because it needs to fuck off, honestly. Opening and ending themes are something that should be watched in order to get the full intended experience from an anime. It's okay to skip them sometimes, but some people always skip them. They're missing out on something intended to be seen by the creators. I absolutely fucking agree. I am one of the, like, 1% of anime watchers who actually watches the opening and ending to every single episode, or at least I try to. Because as this comment beautifully said, it is something that is intended to be seen by the audiences. They have an opening credit, they have an ending credit, and there are people, real life people, who went out of the way to choreograph, to animate, to direct these openings and endings to match the music that they came with. So many people say like, oh, I don't like watching the openings because it spoils the show, but it's like, if it spoiled the show, then they wouldn't put it in the fucking opening, now would they? Like, anime industry people aren't that dumb, guys. They're not gonna put a spoiler in the opening or ending of a show. They'll give hints, they'll give foreshadowings of different things that might happen in the story out of context, in the opening especially, but it's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler. Like, the only reason you think it's a spoiler is because you probably read a spoiler about that foreshadowing. Because think about it, if you're an artist especially, that's like if you took all this time to draw this amazing piece of artwork and for people to just be like, yep, whatever. Like, how would you think about that? Like, I would feel pretty shitty going through the effort to make, say, a video like this and you guys skipping the first minute or two of the video. There's a lot of hard work that goes into openings and endings, and in honesty, I do watch all the openings and endings to every single show I watch, because sometimes the show I'm watching is so shit that the best part of the show is the opening and ending. I'm looking at you, Kisnova. So, my boys, I know it's like a precious 3 minutes out of your life that you're wasting on an already wasteful life of watching 20 minutes of actual anime, but try and watch the openings and endings because people put effort into those and they're really good. You're missing out on some good shit. Deaths can be amazing depending on the situation. A death can drive the plot and make the story more meaningful. Anime like AOT killed off characters too quickly before we had time to connect and feel for the loss. Your Lie in April's death was meaningful and helped wrap up the story beautifully. This is a phenomenon I like to call in storytelling as overkilling, and it means exactly what you think it means. This is one of the biggest reasons why shows like Akamega Kill were so crap, in my opinion. Because death in a story, it shouldn't be a thing that you just toss in whenever you feel like you need to create some drama in a story, or whenever you need to feel like some conflict needs to happen in a story. Death in a story is so fucking heavy, because that is one entire entity you are basically eradicating from the entire construct of the story. And I mean, that's not to say that like completely killing off characters too many times is a bad thing. I mean, obviously Game of Thrones got famous because of that. But that's another reason why I, for example, don't like Fairy Tail, because they killed off Makarov like, what, 5 times in the show? Yeah, it was pretty sad to see him die the first time around, but after the 3rd or 4th time, I'm just like, can this motherfucker please stay dead if they're gonna kill him off? Same with Akamega Kill. You took all this time to create up all of this drama with these characters for them to just get randomly killed off. Like, yeah, the first couple of deaths are like, oh my god, they just killed him off, but after like the 4th or 5th death, you're just like, alright, this is getting out of hand. So putting in a death is fine, just don't fucking overkill it. Build it up, make it dramatic, make it meaningful to the show. Don't just kill them off to create shock value. That's not what killing off a character is about. In terms of Attack on Titan though, I actually think the quick killing of all of these characters was actually a cool thing, because not only did they do it at really important times, or say for example in Attack on Titan they did it at the very beginning to create a story, to create a sense of how grim the world that this story is set in is. But after that, characters that were killed off were properly developed. And same with Your Lie in April, the death in that was so well built up that by the end of it, there was a meaning to the death. There was an actual impact to the death, not just in the story, but in the main characters as well. But if you're just gonna kill off 5 characters in Nakamega Kill just because, oh my god, it's shocking, they're dead, what a twist, then don't even fucking bother, bro. It's not, that shit's not gonna work on me. Serial Experiments Lane is very dull and not entertaining to watch. It may be interesting to analyze the show's concept, but that's all the fun you get out of it. I would argue that the reason why it is interesting is because you can analyze what the story is about. That's what makes it interesting. Like, I don't know if this person, when watching Serial Experiments Lane, was expecting some kind of, like, wondrous fantasy, you know, cyberpunk adventure of, like, Ghost in the Shell proportions. Like, there's so much action, so much mystery, so much death. Because that's not what Serial Experiments Lane is about. It's supposed to be a slow-paced steam broil of emotions, of analysis, of different metaphorical elements, a lot of psychological elements that you're supposed to sit down and do a deep dive on to fully make it an entertaining story. How interesting you make out Serial Experiments Lane is dependent on how much you want to know about the story, how much you want to do a deep dive and to try and understand the story. If you don't have the patience to sit down and understand the story, then yeah, obviously it's going to be a boring show for you because that's the entire reason why it's interesting. All I'm saying is once you do actually do a full deep dive and analyze and try and pick out all the different interesting bits about what makes Serial Experiments Lane so intriguing, then you will see how entertaining of a show it actually is. But if you can't be bothered to do that and you just want to you know, junk food in some anime, then SEL is not a show for you. And finally, manga is superior to anime in almost every way. Well, my boy, if you think that, then I have the perfect website for you. It's called Bookwalker, global.bookwalker.jp. You can get all sorts of awesome manga, but if you're feeling a little bit adventurous, you can check out some light novels there as well. Fully English translated for a good affordable prices, and it directly supports the industry. And if you use my coupon code TheAnimeMan, you can get $5 off your purchase, and that use of the coupon code also supports your boy as well. So everybody wins. Why not check that out? Global.bookwalker.jp, links in the description below. Anyways guys, that's gonna do it for this episode of Let's Fight! Thank you once again for joining in. I appreciate your guys' support as always, and if you want to watch the previous Let's Fight episodes, I've left a few of them in the description below and also at the end card of this video, so definitely check it out. And if you'd like to support your boy more directly other than using the Bookwalker coupon code that I was just talking about, then you can do so over on my Patreon, patreon.com/TheAnimeMan. And if you'd like to contribute to the next episode of Let's Fight, if you have a spicy, hot opinion, unpopular opinion that you would like to discuss with me, you would like, well, to involuntarily discuss with me, then you can follow me over on Twitter and use that hashtag Let's Fight. And if it is a spicy opinion that I can debate on, then I will pick it up for the next episode. And yes guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Like a favorite if you enjoy, subscribe for more anime banner, keep watching anime. Johnny!